Welcome back to the Stress Sleep Connection series. I'm Rebecca Russell, and I want to share things that have helped me, oils and lifestyle changes concerning stress and sleep. Because the majority of the people I meet with on a weekly basis, they struggle with at least one, if not both, of these issues. So it's chronic, and I want to offer whatever help I know about, whatever tips. So let's get to it. So, have you ever just fallen asleep or uh, gone to bed trying to fall asleep, and the minute your head hits the pillow, it's just you're going over a list of things you either didn't get done or need to get done tomorrow, or you're thinking about something you should have said differently during the day, and you're irritated with yourself, or so many different things. Or in my case, it's nothing negative, it's just creativity. It's hard to shut it off. So if that's ever happened to you, that we've talked about a little bit in the other videos. And but what we haven't really talked about, we've talked about stress in general, but not specifically worry. So I'm Rebecca Russell, and I am all about the holistic world. But back in the day when I was younger and unaware of all this, I was a chronic worrier, wringing my hands, just worried about a lot. And that didn't happen until I had kids. But then there's a whole realm of new things to worry about. And then they get to be teenagers, and oh my Lord, that just skyrockets. And I found myself sometimes, having a panic attack in the car, hyperventilating. And yet I was in denial most of the time about my stress, my worry. And I remember I was in the best physical shape ever in my 40s, but emotionally, mentally, not so much. And I sort of escaped to the gym and racquetball as release and escape, which is a healthy one at least. But I remember meeting a friend for coffee, and after going to the gym, and thought I was doing great. I had a great workout. I kicked some butt at the racquetball court, and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." And she said, I go, "Why do you ask?" And she said, "You just look really tense." And I'm like, "Oh, whatever." I just blew it off. But truly, it was worry. And a part of me was scared about that, because I know that my mom, I learned it, I observed it growing up. My mom was a chronic worrier. And as I got older and even more strong-willed, it didn't bode well, because the more you worry, the more you try to micromanage and smother, and it's just not a good fit, especially if that child is strong-willed. So I knew from experience that worry could push the people you care about away. And I didn't want that to happen in my family. So I set about trying to find ways to, manage it. Well, I'm going to get to it in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about why this is happening at night. Although it does happen during the day too. Remember, I was having sort of panic attacks driving. But at night it's worse, because your brain is wired to do tasks, to be busy, to solve things. And so when you lay down at night, there's nothing pressing, and so it just goes to those other things. And so it just spins. At least that's been my experience. And so it activates the same stress response as if you really are in danger, like the example of the tiger being after you. And you get stuck on that on mode, and this raises your cortisol and depletes your melatonin. So you get a double whammy of not being able to sleep for even more reasons. So what do we do? Well, we know about the oils, right? We've talked about that in some other videos, but in just a quick refresher and maybe a little more about the oils. The Balanced Grounding Blend is an amazing oil to diffuse all the time, but especially at night if you have this issue. And or you can just put a drop on the palm of your hand, rub together and breathe in. Some people have animals they're not comfortable diffusing around, especially cats, and so then maybe just do smell from the bottle. And then of course we have the Serenity Sleep System, and it's the Serenity Oil, which I diffuse every night with Shinrin Yoku and Breathe, because I have allergies year round. And then we have the Sleep Stick with valerian in it, and that helps calm the mind and body. And then we have the Serenity Sleep Gels, soft gels, that help calm the mind and body as well. It has L-theanine, which is very calming, and then also tart cherries, which helps with the melatonin production. So those are wonderful. Also, hopefully you have a nighttime routine to get everything slowed down. You're giving your body and mind a cue that it's time. But what if worry is still there? What do you do then? So I had a God moment, God wink, whatever you want to call it. I was in a grocery store and waiting for my prescription for the sleep medication that I had to have because nothing else worked, and I hated being on it, but it worked, and you have to sleep, right? Thank gosh, I know about the oils now. So I was looking at the little magazine, the little book rack, and this book caught my eye. And the cover's sort of funny, it's sort of cute. And the title, You're Late Again, Lord, The Impatient Woman's Guide to God's Timing. And it's by Karen Phillips Goodman. And you can tell I have a lot of sticky notes, and I think I've highlighted in here as well, or maybe not, because I'm a writer. I don't like books being marked up. Anyway, You're Late Again, Lord. And when I read this book, it was life-changing, because it was funny, which made it an easier read than something that's very dry and technical. So she was basically being self-deprecating about how she was trying to handle things. And it's Bible-based. It has Bible verses all throughout. Now, you can just ignore that if that's not your thing. But some of them I recognized, and it was comforting. So you take it or leave it, whatever works for you. But a few takeaways from this book. There are many from this little short book. And you can still get it on Amazon. I think it's a couple of bucks. So if I could get a referral fee for how many people I've told about this book. But anyway, this book, what she said was, two of the big takeaways is, if you say you're a person of faith, which I feel that way. I have a lot of faith. That was a gift my mother gave me. Thank you. Faith in a higher power. Then when you still worry, that is basically a slap in the face to that higher power, God, universe, creator, however you look at it. Because if you do have that faith, then you don't question what's going on. You know all is well. And you'll be given the strength you need to get through things. Doesn't mean it's always going to be great things and good things, but you won't be alone, and you will get through it. So when you worry, you're basically saying, you know what, God, I don't need you on this one. I've got it handled. Thank you, though. And she said it in that very sarcastic way, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is interesting. I've never looked at it that way. that if you do have faith, you can't worry because you have faith. And then when you're worrying, you're basically shutting God out, your higher power, and giving the message that you know more, you have more wisdom, and you don't need his help. And I did not believe that, and I did not think that way, feel that way. So that was something that really made me take notice. I find comfort in knowing in believing there's a higher power. And so that was something that really helped. And then just the different examples she had of when she would go along for a while and do real good at let go, let God, which I'm sure we've all heard. Easy to say, hard to do sometimes. But then when something big came up, she would fall back on that old response and basically start worrying again, wringing her hands and doubting the timing of things and so forth. And the second takeaway there is to have that faith during the small things, to build up the reserves for when those big things do happen. And also how important humor is, because sometimes it gets so challenging that you just have to laugh, or you're just gonna cry and curl up into a ball. And so I love that she chose humor, and that she could laugh at herself, which it was hard for me to. I couldn't do that till probably 50 some years old. I just always took things very seriously, life, me, everything. So I was just born an old soul, and that's how I was. So this book was life-changing. So I highly recommend it. And there's other books out there on how to tame worry. If you find what works for you, but this little book, it is old, but the message is timeless. So, and I just want to share with you how liberating it is to not be a chronic worrier anymore. And I may have done other things to, I think a lot of us as new parents, we'll say, well, I'll never do what my mom or dad did because I didn't like that. And granted, there's quite a few things I have, I've stayed true to that, but some of them I fall into that because as an adult, as a parent, you now get it, that why they made some of the choices they did. And we also understand that we're doing our best, right? And it's not just parents that worry. I know that, but that was just my case. So we know logically that, the majority of the time, all that worries for nothing. The energy, the time is wasted because those things don't happen. So instead of worrying about the worst thing that can happen, why not spend that time and energy thinking about what the best thing is that could happen? So when you find yourself tossing and turning at night, hopefully that won't happen if you do the nighttime routines we've talked about. If just go ahead and look up those old videos to see what some of the nighttime routine ideas are. But just know that worrying it hurts you more than just the stress and how it affects your sleep, but it can truly hurt your relationships. Because do you like having someone micromanage you, or constantly, or smothering you, or, because they're when you worry like that, that is doing the same thing to them that book told me about the higher power. If I'm chronically worried about my husband, then I'm doubting him. I'm doubting that he can manage life, that he can make good decisions. So who likes that? Who wants that feeling of always being doubted, second guessed, and all that? So, what a different energy it is to trust and to have faith. And it doesn't mean you never worry, but you don't want to wallow in it. You don't want to get stuck in it. So, I don't know if this is helpful for you or not, but whatever you need to do, I highly encourage you to work on the worry, because it truly can affect every relationship you have, and in a very negative way, and especially the relationship you have with yourself. And that has to come first, because if you are not grounded in self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-love, then it's very hard to be that stable person's place of peace for someone else. So I hope this was helpful, and just know that you won't stop worrying overnight. It'll take some time, some practice, but when you catch yourself wringing your hands, worrying, or you're unaware you're worrying and someone says something, "Are you okay?" and you're like, pivot and remind yourself that worry doesn't keep anything from happening, and it can cause harm. So I would love to know any takeaways that you might have from this, and if you would like help in creating a like a calm, toolkit for nighttime, just put calm in the comments and I'll reach out to you. But and if you need any more references for some books on worry or personal development, I'm your girl. I've been a personal development junkie since I was probably 12, and I can rattle off book recommendations on just about any topic. So hope you sleep well, and till next time, choose you, choose natural, choose now.